Sweet. How's it going, everybody? Welcome here to the Shuffle Squad's YouTube channel, where we're going live to discuss the World Championship tournament structure, which it looks like it just updated for us here. So we're going to go over some of the changes. I've got my guest here, King Dre Clout, is joining me. So hopefully, King, you're going to give some awesome feedback for me, I'm sure. We're going to talk about all the changes and what you need to know as a competitive player to kind of get yourself prepped and ready for what this new season is. I know we've talked a lot about it on the channel already, but now it finally released, so we're going to go over that. So, Dre, why don't you kick it off here and start reading some of the changes that have happened?
Yeah, for sure. So, bear with me. It is early on the West Coast, and I woke up to this. So, if I sound a little groggy, that's why. If I'm not as high energy as I usually am, that's why. So I mean, the big main kicker is the qualifying threshold is no longer exists. No longer exists,
Right.
which was one part of the rumors. Was kind of the thing that I thought was like real when I read into these because it kind of made sense. As our
Mm-hmm.
game is expanding, it's kind of harder for TPCI to figure out how many people are going to be at Worlds. So from a business standpoint for them, it does make sense that they just have like a top X in each rating zone make it to Worlds. It helps them track it and then help them like better know like how much space they're gonna need for players, how much space they're gonna need for spectators, and all that good stuff, right? So just going through here for the TCG, U.S. and Canada juniors top 75, seniors top 100, and the Masters the top 125 players will receive an invitation. Through
Right.
Europe, juniors 75, seniors 100, Masters 125. So it's the same for U.S. and Europe.
Yeah.
Latin
So that's
America,
kind of weird
yeah,
to me because like we had championship points last season. Obviously, championship point achievement or threshold, if you will, was 500 for U.S. and Canada or North America, right? But it was 400 for Europe, was it
I
not,
think it
or
was six.
450?
I think it was 600 and like I think it was 600, 500.
Oh yeah, that's right. The prior season to last
Yeah,
season, it was 500, and they upped it to 600 last season. And then yeah, so Europe has generally been below us, but now it looks like we're equal ranks with Europe as a region.
I mean they do have a lot of players. They have a large player base. It's
Yeah.
just we're unless they plan to, which we can take a look at the schedule, but unless they plan to give us equal like regionals, I kind of think
Mm,
that's why is usually they had less
right.
events, but maybe they're looking to give Europe like more events, and that's probably why because Europe's player base is huge.
Right. Right.
So I mean, it
Yeah.
probably rivals our player base if they had like enough players showing up. I mean, they were getting over 1,000 players at the tournaments that had the space for 1,000 players. So
Yeah, for sure. So, I mean, obviously, a different goal to achieve here, and we're going to talk about how we can get there. You know, Latin America still has 50 for juniors, 50 for seniors, so it's an equal amount between juniors and seniors. I guess there's a little bit older player base there, and then, or TPCI thinks there's an older player base where they can level that out. And then Masters is only 100.
right,
Oceania is a huge change too, because if you look at it, I mean, yes, they're a smaller region, probably one of the smaller that we see here on this chart on the website. You know, they have 10 for juniors, 10 for seniors, 20 for masters in Oceania. So only the top 20 get invited to Worlds, which is kind of crazy. If you think about it, yeah, I mean, overall, if you look at the Oceania players, not a whole lot playing
right.
in Australia, but still like having to achieve a goal of just the top 20 as somebody that's not competing at the high level, going to all the regionals worldwide, it's a pretty hard goal to hit too.
Basically, it's going to be top 16 for Oceania because you know it's
Yeah.
Brent, Natalie, Ababe, and Henry, right?
Yep. Yep.
So top six. It's basically top six. The other 16 spots are up for grabs.
Right, right. You got four spots. You better reach for
So
the stars there.
yeah. So if you're one of those 16 Australian players, man, best of luck.
Mhm.
Make sure you're grinding. Make sure you're making the most of your events for
Yeah. And
sure.
then we got Middle East and South Africa on here too. 5 for juniors, 5 for seniors, and 10 for masters. Obviously, that's our smallest group.
Right.
Yeah. So what I really want to cover now, the Pokemon Go and VGC stuff is obviously changed too.
Right.
Shout out to those grinding for those games. I know that it's definitely a little bit harder to achieve, but
Yeah, their numbers
I
are pretty
did.
small too.
Right. Yeah. So we kind of moved down. If we're looking at the website and following along with us, I'll put it in the chat in case you didn't get it from Twitter or X. We're just going to put it from the Shuffle Squad's account here, so you can follow along if you're watching. But we're going to talk about the BFLs. So obviously here we see that the League Cup and challenges are BFLs of 4 now
Right.
instead of 6. So they did go down to the BFLs of 4.
Really quick.
VGC Global Challenge is only 3 if you're playing
Yeah.
VGC, which is wild to me to think about.
So before we get
Um,
too far though, PJ, there I did have some questions about just some of these wording.
yeah,
So those of you that are following along, a BFL, if you are unfamiliar now, is your best finish limit,
right.
meaning only 4. So now only 4 challenges and 4 cups count towards your status on the leaderboard. So that's how I'm just gonna phrase it now because there's not a threshold, so
Yeah.
there's no point towards your invite. So it's point only those count towards your position on the leaderboard. So you can
Hmm.
go to 6, 8, 10, however many challenges and cups you want to, but only the
Yeah.
4 best finishes that you have will count towards that position on the leaderboard. And
Yeah.
then of course the kicker is the number of participants. So you'll see the kicker numbers. That means that's how many people you have to have at your cup or challenge to prize out X amount of points. So if you're at a cup that's huge, you go to a Chicago or a Cali Cup that has like 50 people, well, you hit the threshold because there's 33 is the kicker for top 16 to get points. So that
Right.
means top 16 will get 6 points, top 8's 8 for challenges, and then so on. You guys can go look at this, but just so I can make it, I did get a couple messages saying like they are newer players, they don't understand BFLs,
Right.
kickers. So
Right.
that's kind of the breakdown on that. The kicker is
Yeah.
how many players you need to have in order for pricing to get extended to the lower position. So the bigger your
Hmm.
cups, the bigger your challenges, the more points are going to get paid down lower. And then
Right.
your BFL best finish limit, and only those will go towards your leaderboard position.
Exactly. So, if you win 5 cups, you're already you know that you're a decent player, right? But the
Yeah,
5th cup doesn't count anymore
yeah,
towards your point goal, which obviously gets you that top 125 status. We look at the whole here, so you're gaining basically 200 championship points if you win 4 league cups.
right.
So that's the max you can possibly get. And then league challenges, you're only going to get a maximum of 60 points if you win all 4 league challenges. And obviously, you can go to more and keep trying. My question, I guess, Dre, if you want to cover this too, what is this going to do to local stores? Because, yeah, best locals are kind of cliche here because some people love going to locals, some people hate going to locals. Obviously that's where the game grows. That's where newer players start their journey in the Pokemon competitive scene, is at local game stores. So having this lowered BFL, I know that the other day they just came out with some announcement on how prizing should be distributed, as a judge or a TO at local tournaments. But what do you think about lowering the BFL for local stores, Dre?
I I'm okay with it.
Mm,
I don't particularly like it. I think if we were going to set BFLs, which we're going to get to later, it should have been on the major side.
mm-hmm.
This seems very counterproductive for the growth of the game for our newer players. Because
Right.
it's really, really. So, my thing is the way I see locals is yes, some people like them, some people hate them. You have players like myself in my area that I travel up and down California. I go to like the
Mm-hmm.
different ones, especially because there's 6. Like, I want to go. I'll
Yeah.
travel all over to get some because that's a pretty hefty amount. It's a healthy amount of cups and challenges. And even this season, I didn't max out 6 wins. I got 5 wins.
Yeah. Yeah,
And like,
exactly. So
and
I mean, I only maxed 2 locally, but you're a little bit different than me, where you live in an area where you can go to cups and challenges more frequently. I have one a quarter in 2 stores nearby. Otherwise, I'm traveling 3-4 hours away to go to a cup or a challenge. I could go to Canada, I could go to New York City. I'm kind of in the middle. A lot of competitive players are similar to me, where they're either traveling every weekend to compete, and that's where I understand local events don't matter as much to some players, but it is where the game grows. Exactly what you said. It's the growth of the game. These local store owners see revenue because people are coming in, they're winning, they're either winning prizes or prize money or store credit and then spending it at the store. It's just foot traffic. It's business at the end of the day, and all of these stores are maybe not going to be as apt to put forward a League Cup and challenge and promote it as they were before, because once somebody comes and they hit all four, they're kind of done. They're not going to do anything but kind of Grinch points, as they say,
Yeah.
from other people. But aside from that, I mean, I think that it's not going to affect people right away. I think that this is a long-term thing that we'll see trickle over time with the BFLs of fours at local events. Because right now people just want to play Pokemon, right?
Right.
Like the
Right.
game is huge. People love the game. The meta's in a great, state right now. So I think that the BFLs will kind of remain unchanged at the store level, but I think that over time it'll be a trickle down effect where we'll
Right.
see less and less attendees. Because you'll see, in a second when we cover it, what the rest of the championship circuit's going to look like.
Yeah.
So if we
With
kind of scroll down here, or did you have anything to add on to that, Dre?
Yeah, with just like the decrease though, that's the big thing to me is I don't like it's gonna hit the stores too much because like I was getting to the point of like when I travel a lot to these different cups and challenges, it brings up hype. Like there's players that like
Mhm.
when you go to these things, a lot of other players want to come out because they know they're gonna be playing against
Right,
those players. Like I'm pretty
right.
sure like in Texas, Aiden goes to events. People go to the events
Hmm.
because they want to play against Aiden. They want to play against Blake.
Right.
Down south they want to play against the Ginsbergs and stuff like that. Like
Mm-hmm.
so, and I'm probably like less inclined with only four to really leave
Mm-hmm.
the Fresno area because I moved a little bit south of Fresno now, but like that's still my locals. Like it's only a 40-minute drive, and I'm probably I might go to Bakersfield, but like I'm less
Right.
inclined to kind of leave the valley because of this kind of BFL. And I'm still gonna try to because I want to go hang out with other people, but
Yeah,
it's a lot less enticing than it once was.
for sure, for sure.
All right.
Looking at the major events, that's the next part we're going to get into here on our discussion. The major events that we see the change, championship points are still going to be awarded. It looks like roughly the same for regional events and then
Yeah.
internationals. It all looks unchanged on the amount of championship points you're gaining. Still remaining at BFL of 6 based on the chart here on the web page.
We got an
So you
increase.
can, yeah. So as far as that goes, that's good. I don't, based on the schedule that they kind of released for the first third of the season up until LAIC, which we'll cover later on in this video here.
Yeah.
There is definitely going to be, it looks like the similar amount of events. Maybe not just in North America, but overall, still enough events to attend to achieve that. And then, 6 regionals. You still get a world championship invite if you win a regional. So
Correct.
that's good. But what they did change is the international championships. If you are top 4 in an international championship, you do get the invite also.
Yes.
So obviously those are bigger events, a lot more people, higher prestige goes into something like that. But, opening up the gate to 3 other people 3 times a season, that's pretty good. I
Yeah,
do like that.
I
I think
do.
that that's really cool. Obviously the top 125 plus these, maybe you didn't make 125, but you made top 4 at an IC, you're still going to Worlds, right? Like that's what's going to happen. But if we look at the points for first place at a regional, 350 championship points, international 750. So obviously those are huge numbers. Second place 325 and 700 for an international. All the way down. I think that top 256 at a regional is 60 championship points, which is still pretty good. Skipping down the line a little bit.
Yeah.
And then international is 120 championship points. So still pretty big.
Right.
BFLs, obviously there's no BFLs for internationals because there's only three, but that's the thing, is that the BFLs look like it's spread across based on this chart of regionals and ICs. So are they going to count them together? Are they going to separate them? We don't know yet, but the way that this chart is uh, showing it shows BFL of 6 for everything across the board. So that's something that's kind of up in the air. They're pretty vague about it. It doesn't say it in here, and I know that Chris Szymanski recently tweeted out it looks like it's spread across both.
Yeah.
So, I mean, if Chris doesn't necessarily know, Chris is generally in charge of the Hive at any of the North American regional events, running those events from the back end for RK9. Chris would probably know, or Christopher would definitely understand what was happening there. So if it is 6, that's kind of wild too, because you're now lumping in the internationals the same as a regional, and that to me is a feels bad as a competitive player.
Yeah. I would have preferred they just BFL internationals to 1 or 2. Like,
Right.
I mean,
Yeah.
this is essentially what I was going like them lumping it together was essentially
Mhm.
what I was predicting was going to happen. I was saying that the BFL was going to get cut down to 4 for regionals, and they were going to
Yeah.
put a cap on 2 for ICs. Essentially, that's what this math works out to. Is the 6 majors. It's just that you can do it in any
Right.
combination that you'd like to.
For
Um,
sure.
yeah, I don't like it. I really don't like
Yeah.
this. I think this is awful. Like this just looks. I'm
Yeah.
I'm pretty upset that I was pretty right.
Yeah. I know.
I didn't want to be right. I didn't want to
Yeah.
like what I heard to be true, and
Hmm.
that is pretty dang spot on. It's very upsetting to see like the continued like growth and like excitement build up for our game, and something like this is very demoralizing for our like average player base, for our
For
new
sure.
players getting in, for the people that just qualified this season that may have just barely got there. Like
Yeah.
they probably saw the slog and grind it was just to get to the threshold, and now top
That threshold's
125
gone.
is like I finished 388 and I
Yeah.
tried so hard. Like that's got to
I
be
believe.
really, really demoralizing for those people, and it's pretty upsetting.
Yeah, we had Angelo in chat here say they basically made it so you have to go to all of the internationals to achieve that goal. As especially as a North American player, for sure, because there are so many of us. We're the biggest or the highest populated championship area, right?
Right.
Because we've got Canada and North America, some of the best players in the world here, but also, we have the highest attendance rates for all of our events,
Exactly.
whether they're regional, a cup, what have you, aside from Japan, but Japan's its own thing.
Yeah.
But to have to go, because the points are sometimes over double what you'd get at a regional event, to achieve that top 125, if you're not performing at these regional events, you do have to go to Latin America, you have to go to EUIC, and you're going to have to go to NAIC.
Yeah.
And I hope that they do something with the amount of people that are capped for these events, because we all saw what happened with NAIC, and even EUIC was kind of a trip to get into. So
Right.
registering for these events has to change in order for us to be able to achieve that goal, right? It's
Yeah.
going to be such a feels bad if, maybe I don't have the best internet connection, or I work during the times that they offer registration to go as an IC. Not everybody just sits at home like us and does Pokemon full time. A lot of these championship point earners or top 125 players of the prior season, have full-time jobs or have school or something. And if you whiff one or two, that might mean you're not getting in the Worlds this season.
Yeah.
And that really feels bad to me. So again, I hope that if we're looking at the grand scheme of things with this change to the championship structure, there are also changes in the back end with the registration process and the registration amount for these venues. Now, a positive I want to say here, we're going to talk about booster packs and cash prizing. Looks like on the website it states players will receive Pokemon TCG booster packs for competing in Pokemon TCG, VGC, Go Championship. The number of booster packs earned is based on individual placements as well as the number of participants. Participants. It's also early for me too in the event. So if we're looking at sub 33, that doesn't matter. So any of these major events that we've had in the past season are either between the bottom two thresholds, whether it's 1 or 1024 for the attendance or above 1025. And it's generally been above 1025. So the breakdown from those two columns here are both 108 packs as first place, 108 packs for second place, third and fourth place is 108, and fifth through eighth place is 108. So everybody's getting equal pricing for packs. Obviously, the cash pricing we'll talk about in a second.
Right.
But I think that that's kind of cool that you at least get the same amount across top 8.
Yeah.
Top 16 and top 32 are both getting 72 packs. Top 64 is getting 36 packs. If we have 1024 or below as the attendance amount, we're getting 18 packs for top 28. And if it's above 1 or 1025, it's 36 packs. Then top 256
as long as it's
is getting prizes.
513 or more, we get
Right.
the kicker for
Exactly. So you have to be above 513, which haven't had one this season in North America that has been below that amount. So, I mean, even if you're making top 256, this is a positive. You're getting something. So top 256, you might not even day 2, at some regionals, or at least the regionals in the past, the way that they had it structured. But hey, you're walking away with something. You're either getting 9 packs, or if we have a bigger regionals, which we tend to do in North America, you're at least getting 18 packs. So you're getting something. You paid your entry fee. You sat there for 2 days. You played the game that you love, and now you're getting to go home with something more than your swag package, which I think is a positive. That's the way the game should be growing. Obviously making it more advantageous for these players to attend because they are walking away with something and they achieved a goal, whether it's, winning or just top 256, it's still a goal, right? That's the way we look at it. So the top, I know we have it in chat asking again, how many NA TCG players? So championships is, it's 125. The top 125 players in NA are going to get.
They're talking about how many qualified this season. So I think it was.
How many qualified?
I know for NA it was about 300. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, it was close.
It was actually almost close to 400, actually, if I recall.
I believe I wanted to say that there was a number thrown out like 407 for North American players.
Well, yeah, if you count in like the auto invites and stuff, it probably was.
Sure.
I'm pretty sure that. Let me bring up this Masters leaderboard.
Yeah.
Canada, US and Canada for 2025. I have to go. I'm going to show 100 players. I'll go to the 5th page because so now I'll go back to the 4th page. Again, 3rd page. So the last person to qualify via CP was 271 actually. Yeah. Okay, I don't know why I thought it was like 300 something. So yeah, 271 people for NA qualified. So, and then you throw in like the handful of people that won or got to finals of ICs that were US or Canada that didn't have the point threshold made or the auto worlds invite. It's probably not that many though, because I feel like almost everybody that won a regional also got there via the point threshold. And then I know Pram is like 272 because he got the world's auto worlds invite. Latos got their auto invite from winning SAC. So, I mean, that's at least 2 more people I know. So we're probably hovering somewhere around 280 for NA.
Yeah. So, I mean, even with that amount, I mean, that's less than half for this season. And, if everybody plays at the same caliber, if we restructured the same season and played it last season, that's a lot of people that aren't going to Worlds. Which is, I feel like a lot of the top echelon players kind of wanted things, right? That's, these top players, they feel like, they're the best of the best. They belong at Worlds. If you watch our video posted today on the channel, I kind of go over some of the restructure ideas that I had. I think that maybe changing some of the rulings at the tournaments might help achieve that, because if you want to be the best of the best, you have to play like the best of the best, and so on and so forth. But I know that Pokemon's general business plan has been inclusivity, right? That's they want people to get into the game. They have the cards at a lower cost. It's easier for kids to pick up a deck, and join and try to achieve for this world's achievement in our competitive game. And now this is a little bit harder of a goal to strive for when we're looking at things like that.
Now
Now,
we got the
I
packs
did,
though.
yeah, I know. You at least get some packs, so you
Top
walk away with
64 gets a
something.
booster box. I can actually go ahead, turn around, sell that to one of
Yep.
the
One of the vendors
for
there.
like cool little $100, and I just got my entry fee
Right.
maybe plus dinner money back. So
Right.
cool.
Exactly. So you could definitely do that. And then speaking of cash, we do see the cash prize change here. Now, there is a typo. I will warn you, if you're looking at the site, there is definitely a typo on here, because it states in this document, awards of 18 and older or 5,000 or more, choice of scholarship or cash, awards under $5,000 cash, under 18, 5,000 or more, choice of scholarship, blah, blah, blah. But the important part here is that last year saw a substantial increase, and we're maintaining these prize values for the 2025 championship season. So when we look at this, they added a 33rd to 64th place bracket, but they did change the amounts in this graph, but that is supposed to be down one ring. So basically the way you look at it is top 33rd through 64th gets $750 in Master Division. Top 32 is going to get $1,000 still. Top 16 is going to get $2,000, and if you're in juniors or seniors, you're going to make $750. So that is a little bit of a change. So top 16 is getting some money, which is good for juniors and seniors.
Go ahead and refresh. It looks like they fixed it. It looks like
Did they fix it?
It looks like, yeah, someone in chat said to refresh, and they did fix
Okay,
it. But top 64 still has
gotcha.
dash. There's no.
Oh, okay. Oh, well, yeah, that hurts a little bit. I wonder if they're still in process of fixing it, but still
Yeah.
top. Yeah, I mean, these are all remaining the same. Interesting how they had the other pricing, and then
Yeah,
they had the
that kind of stuff.
750.
It looked like top 64 was getting 750, which would have been huge.
Right. Well, so we'll negate that. So it definitely was a typo, but they added that $750 amount in there. We don't know why. Something happened.
Yeah.
Maybe
What was the
the
point of
graph.
even adding the top 64 ring?
Exactly. So
Was
just to show
that
you,
was
haha,
super
you don't get
frustrating.
anything. So that also is still feels bad. I feel like top 64, regardless of if you're getting packs, booster packs,
Yeah.
you should get something.
I think
you
just even if
basically
it's just like, I think like 250 is not even asking too much to prize out the top
no,
64. I think
not
like
at all.
doesn't have to be crazy amount of money, but 250 to top 64 feels like
Yeah.
not like a bad amount. Like, hey, here's like probably your hotel money for the
Right.
weekend. You did
Or
help.
even if they put it as a kicker, like
Yeah.
if we hit a certain threshold, then top 64, that would make more sense too.
Yeah, I'd be cool with that too. Yeah, that feels bad. I don't even know why they
Yeah.
added that and did that.
Yeah. And then top 64 still at an international championships, that's getting $2,000. So that's pretty cool. Winner at a Masters Division International is $25K. If you're juniors or seniors, you're still walking away with $7,000. Everything is the same as last season too.
Yeah.
So you can always take a look at that chart. World Championship, all age divisions, winner is going to be $50K. Second place is $30K. Third and fourth get $20K, so on and so forth. So the prizes are still really good for World Championships. It's more or less, we don't see the change that we wanted to in the regionals, and then internationals is still pretty okay. But I still think maybe top 128 should get something at an internationals because it is so big. It's some of our biggest events, if not the biggest, throughout the season here.
Right. I
Um,
I think I did. I think ICs are fine the way they are.
yeah,
Because if we look at that, like that's a whole another 64 people that would be getting cash. That's kind of does seem like it's a lot of money for them, which I understand that
yeah,
for the ICs because they're already giving out 2,000 to top 64. I don't
right,
mind that, but I think on the regional end, like top 64 needs to like top 64 is a lot harder than people think, and it's like,
for
and it really
sure.
sucks where someone who's like I've been on the bubble like my first regional of the season, I had the thousand. I was one of the first people to get the $1,000 bubble. I went 11x1 after the entire
Hmm.
tournament, so it was at 11-3-1, right? And I
Yeah,
should have been like, if I the season before with how big our tournaments are, I was probably on the bubble for top 8, and
right.
then Pittsburgh was the biggest regional up to that point. I see every regional after that was, but like I I go 11-3-1, have a really good tournament. I go 5-1 in day 2, and I look and it's Caleb Gettimer at 16. I'm at
Ooh,
17. We have the same record, the
ooh,
same
yeah,
opponent's percentage. It's our opponent's percentage, something that we can't control. And like I was the first $1,000 bubble, so at least I still got $1,000. So I wasn't the first 33rd.
right.
But knowing how that bubble can be like out of your control kind of sucks. And 33rd to 64, like I'm pretty sure Cal was like one of the first like zero cash bubbles, maybe if I
Yeah,
recall, because I think he was 34th, and him and the 33rd place person were like the same.
right. It was
And
almost like
like,
a
and
tiebreaker
yeah,
that they
it was
had
like
to
a
do.
three-way tie from 32, 33, 34, something like that. And
Yeah,
like, bro, that sucks. Like, I think 33rd to
yeah.
64, like
To
$500,
lose off the
like,
resistance,
yeah, like
or
I think,
sometimes opponents' resistance too
yeah,
could just
because
throw you off
mine,
by like a 0.1%.
I think mine and Caleb's opponent's percentage was less than 1%,
Yeah.
if I recall
Uh,
correctly.
and that's something I feel like the tournament structure needs to be fixed for that, but that's like a whole other ball game,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
which they didn't announce here. Nothing about the tournament structure
No,
itself has been announced.
there is a change to the tournament structure.
Okay, okay. Well, we'll go
So
over that in a second
yeah,
here. Actually, Dre, if you want to hop down, because I know International Championship Travel Prize Awards are still pretty cool. Top 16, it looks like in the regions are getting those. So if you are top 16 in your region, North
yep.
America, LATAM,
So this is
Europe.
huge. This is really huge that they
Okay,
added this though. Is that top 32 in the region will get your priority registration to ICs.
right.
So that is
That's
massive.
pretty good.
I like that addition. So yeah, if
Yeah,
you're in the top 4, you get if it's an out of region IC, you get 5,000. If it's in region, you get 2,500. Fifth through eighth, you get 1,000. It's the same for
yeah.
top 16. So basically, only top 4 get like the award, and then fifth
Mm-hmm.
through 16th get the stipend. And now it just looks like it's the same. Out of region, in region is just $1,000. But hey,
Right, right.
$1,000 is $1,000. It'll help towards your travel fees. But 17th to 32nd getting priority registration, meaning
Yeah,
you don't have to go through and worry about those waves if you're in the top 32, which I think is very important for our players that do go to all these events, the top players.
yeah.
I know there's like I've I've always been very for the people in my opinions. That doesn't
Mm-hmm.
change. I still think anybody that wants to play in a Pokemon tournament should have the opportunity to go play. And
Right.
with the way they've been opening up these numbers, I'm pretty sure we'll be fine. And I'm gonna be honest with you, this announcement, I can see our attendance declining a little bit. So
Yeah.
I don't think regionals and the ICs are going to be as difficult to register for this year because this is going to kill so much hype. I'm going to be real. Like I think this is going to
Right.
kill so much hype in our game. Um,
Yeah.
but the 17th, the top 32 priority registration, I think is huge because we still
Mm-hmm.
want the best players being at these tournaments.
For sure.
Like making sure that the Azuls, the Tords, the Cal Connors, all these guys, the Gabe Smarts, if they're there, it's important. Like I don't
Right.
Like it's for someone of like what like a higher level plays, like you want to go to these tournaments and make sure you're playing against the best of the best. If so and so's not there, you almost get
Right.
that like say I win the tournament. Oh yeah, but
Yeah.
Azul didn't register. He wasn't there, so I mean,
Didn't
it's
show up.
kind of like, that's just as a competitive person though. So I
Right.
think the top
Right.
32 priority registration is a good thing for the game, making
For
sure we're
sure.
getting those players that because and even the top 32 is like plenty. There's plenty of space for even like some other maybe not as big name, but they're grinding and they're doing well.
Hmm.
They deserve their spot. They deserve the priority registration. They're killing it, you know. So if you're one of those people, you go to the first couple tournaments, you're in the top 32, and you get priority
Right.
registration. You earned it. You should be at
Hmm.
get the priority registration to these events, to these
Yeah.
internationals.
I agree with that. I 1,000% agree. With something like that, too, we look at, and mind you, this is actually my first time reading through the entire document, but there was the adjustment to Swiss tournament format and Top Cut. So this is another big change that we're seeing come through. So similar to the 2024 World Championship, shifts to the Swiss tournament format and method for determining which players advance to Top Cut will continue throughout the rest of 2025 season. For special championships, regional championships, internationals, and the world championships, Pokemon TCG and VGC will be played in a more conventional Swiss round count, plus an additional round rather than modified version of the Swiss format used in recent seasons. So what that means is, looking at this chart, there's number of participants. There's the first cap, 33 to 64. We're not going to have that at a regionals literally ever. 128, 256, 512. Now we get to the numbers 513 to 1024. We're looking at 8 rounds for day one. I'm sorry, 11 Swiss rounds on there. And then day one Swiss rounds are just going to be 8. And then day two is going to be 3. When we move
Yeah,
down to the 1025 or 2048 amount, there is 12 total, which is 8 day one and then 4 day two. And if we get above 2049, which we don't do at regional events yet, I hope that we will see higher attendance for that. Fingers crossed. But internationals, if we are between 20 and 49, or 2049 and 4096, we have 13 rounds. And then if we're above 4097, we have 14 rounds. So 9 day one Swiss rounds there, and then either 4 or 5 day two Swiss rounds. So the tournaments have been condensed, right? So now you're not doing 6-2-1 anymore. You have to really be 6-2, I think,
yep.
is how it's going to work
Six
to
two
make it
five
to
zero
day two.
three.
Yep. So 503. So you can tie 3 times, and you can lose only twice. So if you do lose 3 times, you're technically out of day two still.
Yep.
So it incentivizes the IDs, I guess, into day two, or less incentivizes to do that. So you're not going 6-2 and then you ID with your opponent, you're not playing the game anymore for another round, and you get an early dinner break. But as far as that goes, I actually kind of like that. I love playing Pokemon. I love playing it for a full day. But at that 9th round, you're kind of burnt a lot of the time. So I do see this as a positive change in
Yeah.
some respect. But I guess 611 might be on the bubble though. That's the problem. So if you're 611 in a regional event, you've got to hold on tight to something and hope that you make that top championship points to get in there. But you're still 18 points. You've made it to day two. So if you get that 6th win now, you don't have to worry about getting into day two. I'm reading across here.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you get 18 points. You're good. No more 19 points
Right.
to make it to day two. So that's pretty good. And then, I can't count the number of times at regionals I've made 18 points and then not gotten into day two.
Right.
So that feels a little bit better as a competitive player to make that. But then, again, talking about 611 on the day, then you're looking at a scarier day two for sure. Those people that go 8-0 at a regional or 9-0 at an international, that's where you have to kind of see something I don't know if we need another change on that aspect. But Dre, what are your thoughts here?
Yeah, just to clarify the person asking in the chat, yeah, so you do need 18 match points now. So there's no
Yep.
longer a ninth round. There's only going to be 8 rounds for the most part, unless for some reason we end up hitting over. If we hit 2,050 players at a regional, which I don't think we're going to hit that. Like I said,
Yeah.
I'm going to be 100%. I've always kept everything 100%, and I think we're going to stay. This is going to stagnate us between the 1,025 to 2,048
Right.
range. I don't think we're getting that much hype now as much. Had everything remained the same going into the season, and the threshold had been just raised by 50 points, and it was like 650 is the world's
Hmm.
invite threshold. I think we would have probably seen the above 2,050 player event regionals, but
Right.
this is just a huge wet blanket on the community, especially for our
Yeah.
general player base. I don't see us climbing over 2,048 for the regionals, if I'm being 100% honest.
Yeah.
Too often. Too often, at least. We might still do it in like the east areas. Because what.
Hmm.
Uh, no, a lot of our events were like just like 2,000. I mean, I can see us a couple of maybe the East Coast events maybe hitting that ninth round threshold. So it really will just depend on how many players we get. Depends on how many people actually want to keep coming out to try at these majors. I'm hoping people
Right.
still want to come play and go out. Um,
Yeah.
I'm a fan of the 8 rounds. That's fine. You just eliminate, for the most part, the people that get to the 6-2. There's that you eliminate that awkward like Um, you want an ID? No, my goal is to
Hmm.
win the tournament. So sorry, bud. Kind of like interaction.
Right.
Um, so
Gentlemen's
eliminating,
agreements.
yeah, gentlemen's agreements, all that stuff. Like it kind of just helps out on those. It makes those things a lot easier. Um, but yeah, I think the 8 rounds is good. The day two Swiss rounds is interesting that it's such a major cut down. And as I read like their little like disclaimer at the bottom, the reason
Hmm.
they did it is because they want like more streamlined tournaments and it's just gonna
Right.
help with the flow and also cut down on potential daily fatigue, which
Hmm.
that's real. It is.
Yep.
I mean, we're going through maybe we'll get lunch breaks now.
Right.
I mean, I know some people aren't a fan of them, but like a lot of people need them. I'm a bigger person. I need like, bro, if I'm not eating I'm already moving around a lot and then I'm using a lot of brain power. I'm just burning so many calories.
Yeah.
So it's a lot. But the day two Swiss round is interesting that it's only going to be 4 rounds now.
Right.
But another huge change is the cut. So we're actually moving to a asymmetrical cut now. So
Mm.
after all Swiss rounds are completed, the top 8 competitors plus all competitors with the same number of match points as eighth place to a maximum of
Okay.
32 will advance into an asymmetrical top cut single elimination bracket. So now there's no. That was the problem with this season is that there was a big bubble for top 8. Sometimes I think what
Yeah.
we had like there's one tournament we had like a 4-person bubble, three
Right.
person bubble for top 8. That's kind of huge for like 2 to 3 people top caliber to have the
Right.
same match points and then miss top 8 because of
Yeah.
resistance. So this
I wonder
is good.
how they're going to structure it because it's technically not top eight anymore, right? Like they
Yeah.
have to play the tiebreaker. Is there a tiebreaker round? Like what's going on here? Are we adding the Swiss round to see?
It's just gonna be everybody, so it'll just like it says up to a maximum of 32, so it'll be like if
Mm,
1 through 12 are all well, if like 8 through 12 are the same match points, they all
right.
make it, and it'll just go to a 12-person cut essentially, and
Right.
it'll be a bracket. I'm guessing if it's ever like an odd number, some
Hmm.
person just gets lucky and gets the
Yeah.
bye.
Right.
And
Yeah,
then
because
that
you'll have
and
six games going on. Basically,
yeah,
what, six people get eliminated, but you'll have what, a top six. That'll
whoever
kind
the
of be
whoever the 1 seed hopefully gets that bye. I think it should be the
right.
top
Right.
player
Right.
rewarded with that,
Yep.
but
And they'll move into a top eight. So
you
I
never
guess that
know.
feels a little bit better. I understand they have here, like you were saying, daily fatigue. That's something that comes with a lot of players maybe playing their first regional event. This is a positive change, I feel like, in a lot of ways. Maybe we don't see it just now, but I think that not only the shorter time, the lower threshold for day two, the asymmetrical cut in the top, I think all of these are positive changes. I actually do like this, and you can grill me here
Yeah.
in chat if you don't like it, but I do like this a lot more.
I think the round
Um,
structure is fine.
yeah. Um, Now, this is something interesting in here, and this is not necessarily for TCG, but VGC. Looks like more online tournaments are coming to the 2025 season, giving players more opportunities to make progress towards earning an invitation to the Pokemon World Championships. So, Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, or VGC, can look forward to more global challenge events throughout the season, and Pokemon Unite will also continue to be supported by online tournaments as a part of the path to Worlds. So that's kind of interesting, is that more online tournaments are coming. Unfortunately, we run off of PTCGL, so there's no way that we can actually have a competitive season for TCG. But, it's still something cool to see that they're adapting to how the players are playing the game and making it more accessible. So that's kind of cool in that respect. So then the big thing I want to cover here is the first third of the regional events are announced here. So it looks like we've got all the way in, and we even have all ICs announced on what dates and the event center. Hopefully, none of those are typos, because we know that they love doing that on this site here.
Yeah, I think it's kind of hard to
Um,
mess up just three ICs though. It looks like all three are in
uh,
the same place they were last year too, so they shouldn't
right.
shouldn't be a
They
typo.
probably have contracts with those
Right.
event centers, so that makes a lot of sense why they're doing this. But if we go down here, we've got Baltimore on the 13th through 15th.
Yep.
Something interesting in of September. So that's the first regionals back in the new season, is in the middle of September. We're back in Baltimore. It looks like it's the same convention center we were at last season. Just stay safe. Everybody just go in and out of the convention center. I had no problem. I walked around the city. You stay with a group, you're good. No problems there. I'll go back to Baltimore, whatever. I just like playing Pokemon. Now, the interesting thing next here is that there's two major events on the same weekend. We have one in Germany. We've got Dortmund Regional in Westfalen. And then we have the Brazil Regional in, looks like Joinville, at the convention center. So both in the same weekend, which I'm interested to see. Are they only going to broadcast one of them? I'm assuming it's going to be Germany, because that's kind of what they did last season, right? Is
Right.
they broadcasted Germany. So Brazil, I actually, looking at the graphic, I want to go back here. There was a graphic that we don't have. Okay, so that wasn't the special event. So there's a couple special events in here too. We'll cover those later. We do have the October 5th through 6th. So that one in Lima is going to be a special event. So, again, with special events, you're not necessarily getting cash prizing, but you are getting championship points.
Right.
Obviously, there's a little bit lower attendance at those type of events. So something interesting where we've got that little bit of a gap there when when we have two regionals on the same day in different areas. I'm assuming they're just trying to break it up, right? Like if I'm a LATAM player, I can go to Brazil a little bit easier than I can go to Germany, especially if I'm chasing that invite for a top cut in my region. I would love to see, if a lot of North American players are going to try to attend some of these regionals, whether it's
Yeah.
Brazil or Germany. It's probably whatever flight plan is cheapest for people to just play and achieve those goals. Me personally, I'd say, I'm just going to play in the Baltimore one and maybe just wait it out for some of these North American ones. I would love to start going to some internationals for sure. But I think that the first couple of the season, maybe not where my head's at, and my wallet's at for a lot of things. We're looking at October 13th is the next North American regionals after that. So
Yeah.
it looks like one a month here in the States based on this chart. So October 11th through the 13th, we're in Louisville, Kentucky.
Yeah.
Then we have one on the 19th of October in France. That would be pretty cool to do.
Lil.
Maybe two in October. Maybe
Mhm.
go to France for the first time. That would be nice.
It's not France, dude.
Um,
It's Lil.
well, it says Little France.
Is that France? Oh, I was thinking
Yes. Yeah.
Paris.
No. No.
I
No.
was thinking
No.
you were
No. No.
saying
No.
I
No.
saw Palais and I'm like, no, it's not Paris. It's Lil. Yeah, going to France is
uh,
cool.
yeah. So going to France would be neat. Then we have one in Poland, Gdańsk,
Hmm.
on November 2nd. Might skip that one. There is a special event on November 9th through the 10th in Argentina.
Yeah.
So a couple of LATAM special events already. Again, with no pricing. I wonder if they're doing that. Obviously, the special events in Brazil because of Copag and their pricing output for Latin American internationals. We know
Yeah.
that that's a sore subject with a lot of players.
Yeah.
You know, it's interesting to me how they'd be doing something like that, but it is what it is.
Right.
These are also free entry events for special events. I don't know if anybody knew that, but if you're trying to go to a special event, maybe to just hit your points threshold or your BFL of 6, to try and win some of these smaller events, it's actually free to register. You do just have to pay for your flight and hotel and travel, whatever.
Right.
Um, to and from the venue, but that's pretty neat that they have a couple more special events announced early on in the season. November 22nd through 24th, which is very close to Thanksgiving, is Sacramento. Now, I don't like when North American regionals are close to North American holidays, especially like family holidays. I'm a Polka dad, so I don't really enjoy that they have that scheduled. And if we kind of look down a little ways, skipping ahead, November 15th through the 17th is Latin American International. So I'll probably either go to the LAIC, which I feel like I have to as a competitive player, or I'll go to Sacramento, which I loved Sacramento last season. It kind of stinks that they're putting it on that date because even if I, say I make day 2 and I'm in the championship cut, to find a flight out on Sunday night from Sacramento, where I'm across the country, is a little bit difficult. Plus, I have to
Right.
get back home and spend the next day with my family. Or let me look at the calendar. I don't even know. Thanksgiving is generally around that time.
It's usually
So
around that time. I mean,
yeah,
I would assume that they wouldn't
yes,
put it on
yeah.
there.
Okay, so Thanksgiving is the 28th. So it's the following Thursday. Well,
Yeah.
it's not
Wait a
not
minute.
awful, but if
Wait a
I'm
minute. Wait a minute. Wait a minute. Wait a minute. Wait a minute. Isn't it usually the second? Is it the last Thursday or is it the second to
it's the
last Thursday?
it's the 28th of November this year.
Okay, okay.
So basically, you can go to LATAM for LAIC the weekend. Then next weekend, you turn around and go to Sacramento. And then the weekend after that is Thanksgiving weekend, after the
Gotcha.
Thursday.
Okay, so I mean, I
So
guess the timeline works out then.
yeah, yeah. So I guess I could do both. It would be a real packed month for sure. Wife and kids would hate me a little bit because I'd be gone for basically 2 weeks. So it's doable, but it's only if you're on the grind, right? If
Yeah,
I'm a normal person that works in 9 to 5, that is definitely not achievable. So I have
that's
to
way too much
strive.
travel.
Yeah, I have to strive to go to that international for sure if I want to try to compete in the
Yeah,
world championships. Otherwise, I'm just playing Pokemon, right?
yeah,
I'm just maybe going to Sacramento, playing some more Pokemon, maybe winning some prizes, maybe bring home some cash. You've got time to gear up, and that's something I do like with the way that they've spaced this out. If I'm just a North American player and I'm only attending North American regionals, just having the one a month now is really good because now you can gear up. I can get coaching. I can start practicing games. I know when these
right,
regionals are. I know what
right,
the format is. I can play in online tournaments.
exactly,
Um, Dre, you do coaching. Do you have a lot of people that ramp up pretty quick on coaching for you?
right. Sorry, one more question. One more time,
Oh,
the
I
question.
was gonna say, do you have a lot of people ramping up for these
Oh
regional
yeah, like
events with
right,
you?
yeah. Usually before the regionals, I'll have like the last minute, spike in like, hey, I need a quick 1 hour, or I'll even get them at the event if I'm there the day before. Can I get like an in person? So like right before tournaments is like when usually coaching has a huge spike. So definitely. Having more time
Right.
between the events is really great though for like you as you
Hmm.
mentioned, just like your in region people.
Yeah.
Omnipoke in the chat is asking, will you both be entering the season with an invite chase mindset out of curiosity? Definitely.
Yeah.
I look at this past season. I didn't go to all the ICs. I went to LAIC and I went to NAIC. I day two NAIC. I think I literally went to just like 6 or 7 regionals. I didn't go to every regional
Yeah.
either. I basically took the entire quarter 3 off, and I finished
Right.
62nd. So if I could do that, 125 for my mindset isn't out of
Hmm.
reach. Um,
Yeah.
as far
And
as
me
I
myself, I'm traveling with the team. You know, I did a lot on the back end. So personally, I'm full time Pokemon. So I have the ability to go to all of these events. So I will strive for that top 125 this season. A little bit less on the back end at the beginning of the season, which I had a pretty terrible first half of, yeah, first half to 3/4 of the season because I was doing so much. And now I'm just focused on Pokemon. So personally, I do want to attend more events and I want to achieve for that top 125 spot. Also, hello, Joe. Nice to see you. But aside from that, um, having the spaced out regional schedule for us instead of like packing 2 North Americans in 1 month, 2 North American regionals in 1 month was a lot,
this is actually really
especially
good.
towards the holidays.
Yeah, no, this
Yeah.
is actually really good towards like the pro players. Like myself, I
Mhm.
wanted to do more international regionals this year. This actually kind of
Sure.
like makes it more plausible. I know
Right.
Azul's been talking on his stream about wanting to go to more international events.
For
This makes it
sure.
more plausible. Like it's a lot easier to do this. Like, I'm looking at this schedule. Baltimore easy. I'm gonna definitely go to that. If I want to, at the end of the month, like say I go to Baltimore and I make cash and I'm like, okay, well out of Cali, I can fly to like Sao Paulo was like $700 round trip for me, pretty cheap by most comparisons to other
Yeah.
places. Um, so like I'm not sure how far this part of Brazil is for the late September event that they
Mhm.
have, but I mean like if I cash and I'm just like, hey, you know what? I just want to
Right.
let's go to Brazil. Like I'll go to Brazil and I can at the end of
Exactly.
like 2 weeks later. Or if
Right.
I want to like just looking at the schedule, if I want to go to Baltimore, Kentucky, and then I see that there's a big gap between because you have early like mid to early October Kentucky and then late
Right.
November for SAC. I can hit one of these 3 internationals, like I said, France, Poland, Argentina. Like that's a
For
huge
sure.
gap of time for me to hit another regional if I really want to. So people that want like for the players that want to go more international and see new places, go play in more events. Like that's the spacing of the events is pretty good for that. It's good for just even our general player base because, like you said, they get more prep time. Um,
Right.
it's more time for us coaches to work with our clients. It kind of sucks when we have like, well, we just had what was the fast turnarounds? Like we had LA, and then like 2 weeks later we had NEIC before. Like
Right. Right.
it's like we're not getting much time to help really prep our students. So we're like hey, you got to do a lot of grinding, and then we'll do what we can in
Right.
the 2 hours that we have, the 2 hour sessions that we get before the next one. So I do like
Yeah.
the spaced out events a little bit better. Um,
What I do notice on this schedule too, there's no Oceania regionals
yeah,
at all.
interesting. Very
Um,
very interesting. I was
so
gonna
I
make
mean,
that point, but I wasn't sure if I should.
um, I mean, I feel like they're probably going to have three, right?
Yeah,
They'll have three
probably
throughout the
3.
season. Probably have to travel. That's why a lot of the Australian players do travel to all these other events, because they want to compete. They want to be that top 20
Right.
players that make it to the World Championships. Um, I do see Toronto, which is nice because that's a nice little 4-hour drive for me in December before Christmas. So that's good.
Sounds like I'm
Um,
flying to New York and driving with you to Toronto.
that sounds fine to me. I'll pick you up at the airport. Um, so as far as it goes, I'd say that looking at these, there's another special event in December too that some players can go to. That's in Colombia. That seems kind of fun.
That seems really
Stuttgart,
fun.
no end of November, early December. So if you want to piggyback 4 events. You can go to the special event in Argentina, then you can go to LAIC, then you can go to Sacramento,
Just
and
be
then you can
on
go to Stuttgart and
be
just
on
be a
your
world
Pokedules.
traveler.
Be on your
Um,
Pokedules.
yeah, exactly. Well, you can't drive through an ocean
No,
yet,
Pokedules went to
but I'm
like
sure.
he went to like Africa and
Yes,
NAIC and like he went to
yeah,
like didn't he go to like a South American event too? He went to like a special event in South
yes,
America too, right? Or Latin
right,
America,
right.
wherever. Like, bro, like yeah, you just be on your Pokedules, you'll be fine.
Exactly, exactly. So I do see a lot of players in chat saying, it's pay to play for
Yeah.
the championship, and I feel like a lot of world champions feel like it kind of should be because you're cashing out at these events. Not everybody's going to play for their world's achievement, and
Right.
that's just a fact. People are just going to play the game to play the game, and then if you are going to regionals, maybe you win some cash. Maybe you win the regionals. But if you're taking the time to prep to do that, maybe you only have to attend one regional to achieve your world championships. Or maybe you just attend one international championship and you get top 4 and you're automatically in.
Yep.
So if you're taking the time and playing the game at a competitive light already, you're probably putting in the time and effort to become that top echelon of player as well. So if you are testing games, if you're getting coaching, if you feel like you need it, you've got a solidified testing group that has good results and you can ping ideas off of, that's where your mind has to be if you're going to compete for the world championships. Otherwise, you're just playing Pokemon because you love Pokemon, right?
Right.
And I think that that's how this is structured for those type of players to just be able to play the game at a higher competitive level than just being at locals. It takes a little bit of the pressure off the local scene for the sweaty competitive areas because, if I've got 4, I'm not going to care as much. If I've got 4 cup wins, I'm going to go to locals just because I like locals, right? If I'm
Right.
going to locals for that, I'm already going there. I'm not driving 3 hours to go to a cup anymore.
Yeah.
I'm I'm just going to play at my local store on a Thursday night or on a Saturday, and then just hang out with my friends that are at the store because I don't care
Exactly.
anymore. I've already hit my max. So
Exactly.
it takes a little bit of pressure off. It gives some other people a way to, achieve at least the local level of championship points and go from there. So I like that. And then, the lower amount of rounds for Swiss is also something cool for that newer competitive player, not necessarily used to playing a full 8 to 9 hours of Pokemon in a day, uh, and it's a little bit easier on that. And two, plus the day 2, I feel like the day 2 Swiss rounds are also really good because you're already waking up early, going to the event center,
Then
playing
we played one
another
day.
day full of Pokemon. Yeah. So I like that a lot. We're going to cover the international championship dates here
Yeah.
next. So we know when LATAM is. Latin American International is November 15th. It looks like Sao Paulo, same place. So these are obviously contracted.
Right.
Is how I
Yeah.
feel.
There's some
Uh,
long term contracts here for sure.
yeah, yeah. And then we've got EUIC again, February 21st through 23rd, same time as it was last year at the Excel Center in London. Then we have the North American Championships again in New Orleans. I wasn't able to go this season, unfortunately, but I want to go to New Orleans. I heard it was beautiful. Having it there again, I think, is a big win for Pokemon,
Yeah.
and that's June 13th. So we know when all the ICs are, which is a big plus because Pokemon's been dropping the ball with
Yeah.
releasing dates for some things
Yeah.
in the past season, and now we're at that point where we get a little bit more. It's more than just the first third here because we go all the way into December. So I'm assuming that they're going to take some time for Christmas break, for New Year's to happen, things like that, and then we'll start back again at the second half of the season. We're going to do the European internationals, just kick things back off again. Maybe there's one in January, probably late January. We'll see that happen, but probably not the first couple of weeks of January is my guesstimate.
So
Um,
yeah, I'm pretty sure we'll get our the rest of the season probably when we get to like mid September. I would be
right,
surprised. I'd be surprised if they waited till December to give us the rest of the schedule. We'll probably know before
right,
LAIC or if by LAIC. Um,
exactly.
One thing I want to circle
Pre-COVID,
back
they used
on.
to drop the whole thing, but
Yeah. want to circle back to that.
Hmm.
Because somebody asked me, is the BFL combined 6 for regionals and IC? The graphic seems that way. It does seem that way. I have like one huge kind of glaring issue with this. If they
Hmm.
are combined, let's say
Yeah.
I have a top 16 regional. Obviously, that's going to go to the top. I make a top 8 at an IC, top 8 at a regional, and like, okay, maybe I just have 4 really good placements, and there's 2
Yep.
placements left, and they're both top 64s. But one is a
Sure.
or let's say I have 5 filled out. They're all better than top 64.
Yep.
Um, or what have you. I have
So
one
you got
spot,
top 32 or better.
and I have 2 events that I can fill that last spot with, and I have top
Hmm.
64 in IC, and I have top 64 at a regional. Top
Right.
64 at a regional is 100 points. Top 64 at an IC is 250 points.
Right. Right.
So are they gonna? I mean, I would assume they would weigh the heavier point payout as that better
For
finish
sure.
limit placement if they are
Right.
combined. But that
Yeah.
does also just like it leaves like too much like there's too many questions here with this like that's not answered, and I don't like that. Like
Right.
that's the thing that I'm like, okay, because can I assume that they're gonna make not mess it
Well,
up?
it'd be the same thing as
Like they're
cups,
not gonna
right?
mess it up.
If you had 7 cup wins, that seventh one doesn't count anymore. It
Right.
doesn't go toward your championship points. So
Exactly.
I'm assuming your seventh finish isn't going to count towards if it was a lower finish, right? It might bump one out, and that's how the structure has
Right.
worked
So this is
before.
the
So I
but
don't
like
think that they're changing it.
but the sixth spot though, the thing is like just something like that. Like say went to 7
Yeah.
tournaments, and my sixth and
Hmm.
seventh tournament are the same placement, but
Right.
they're at vastly different tournaments that paid like
Correct.
that's literally more than double the points.
Right. I feel like it would go based off the international. That's just my general assumption because it's obviously a higher
Right.
tiered event.
And common
Um,
sense, and
and
we
they'd
would
go
hope so. We would assume so, but we
right,
can't
right,
always just assume that they're gonna get it right.
right. But also, you'd have to get the exact same placement at both events. Like you'd have to get
Okay, see,
thirty
and that's
first.
awful. Like if I get
Yeah.
like I get 62nd at a
Hmm.
regional and I get 64th at an IC and I get
Right.
150 less points because of that,
Right. Yeah.
that is awful. It makes me like almost like okay, if I got top 64 at an IC, I almost don't even I might just drop.
Right.
If I'm looking at a tournament and I'm looking like I'm not gonna get better than like, I'm gonna be close to top 64.
Yeah.
I don't even want to risk losing my 150. I'm gonna drop from the regional. I'd rather keep my
That's true.
250
Yeah.
than get 100. Like that's what I think they need to. I don't like this. I think that they should have just
Yeah.
split it 4 regionals, 2 ICs. Like I would have preferred
Exactly.
that. This combination of 6, there's too much nuance that can happen that might end up
Right.
screwing players. Like
Yeah. I
I can see
agree.
it
I think that
already.
yeah, it's going to be something towards the end of the season. I'm sure that we're going to have a lot of uprising in the community of, how we're going to achieve that goal to get to figure out what the difference is. Again, I'm just going out on a whim and assuming that Pokemon would value an international over regional
Right.
at any point, or maybe there was a typo in this graph. Maybe it is,
It's
BFL
split.
6 and they forgot to put a line in
Yeah,
the
and I mean
graph.
there was a typo already, but it was fixed already. So I'm
Right,
pretty sure I don't think this is a typo because they would have probably fixed this little line because this little
right,
line is huge. This is probably
right.
the most like important freaking line that I think I've ever had to like look at.
the
You
the
know,
line heard around the world
yeah,
here.
man. Like it's like
Um,
those football movies where they're just short. Like that line is important, yo. Give me that line because yeah, I don't
yeah,
know
for sure.
I think that was intentional and
Yeah,
I can already see this being a freaking mess.
right. I could also see like if everybody's attending every single international that they
Right.
can. Um, I feel like it's actually thinking back, it's gonna have more people at more cups at the beginning part of the season. Like
Yeah.
you're going to see an increase at cup attendance, and I'm also wondering if like stores have fire capacity.
Hmm.
You know, they
Yep.
can't fit. We saw last season people were playing outside on their
Yeah.
car hoods.
That was at the
You
one I was
know,
at. That was the
I went to Toronto and played in a cup. It was 127 people. We were literally elbow to elbow. You couldn't get up off the table unless everyone got up at the same time. We played until 5 a.m. at this cup. Like, that's wild. And I'm assuming that, people are going to try to achieve those goals and maybe hit some smaller stores. I'm seeing a couple stores pop up in my area at least, and they're getting prepped to do a championship series. But this is like, it's going to be overwhelming for a lot of newer stores that are trying to develop their
yeah,
player base too.
yeah. This is gonna be overwhelming for newer stores, for newer players
Hmm.
overall. Like anybody that's trying to
Yeah,
get into this is gonna cause a
yeah,
mass panic in the opening
yeah,
parts of the season for sure. Like I
for
can,
sure.
July is gonna be a mess. Like I'm ready for the horror stories to hit when
Yeah.
July opens up and we have 100-degree temperatures, people having to play outside
Hmm.
in the heat, elbow to elbow,
Yeah.
all those stories. That yeah, the local horror stories are gonna hit hard again. Because dude, the first cup I hit last year was just awful.
Right.
I guess another thing I want to hit is like I want to circle back to like the round structure because I pulled up
Hmm.
the attendance to like the most recent regionals of our season that just
Yeah.
passed. So if we're going back to, let me find the Swiss adjustments. There it is. So let's take if we take a LA,
Hmm.
2,073 players, we would have hit 9 rounds.
Right.
Indianapolis 2,300, we would have hit 9 rounds. Orlando 2,300, we would have hit 9 rounds. Vancouver only 985. So I think because there's a big influx. So LA, typically West Coast regionals don't seem to get as much attendance because it's a lot harder to get over here. But LA
Right.
was the last regional of the season, so a lot of people just came. A lot more people came than normal,
Yeah.
and it still was sub. It barely scraped into the 2049 if that was
Yeah.
in place. But like something like Vancouver was only 985 Masters.
Right.
So there would have been 8 rounds and only three day two Swiss rounds instead of the four,
Oof. Yeah.
which would have been insane. And then Knoxville was 1367, so we would have been
Yeah.
in that 8 round four. So I think because of that, this is kind of their way of also balancing out like the size of the regionals, which I think is
True.
fine. It's good. Um, we just have to see how many people actually end up showing up to these tournaments. I
Yeah.
have a
It all
feeling that
depends on, yeah,
yeah,
like how determined players are. Like, and we see in chat here, wouldn't there be less players with the structure? I feel like a lot of players were invite chasing. And you're right, a lot of players were, people that wanted to get their name on the board, right? And see themselves at Worlds. They want to achieve that world championship. I think that one thing that we're going to see is a huge boom in the world championship swag bag payout, because people are like selling their worlds kits now, and if it's that higher tier, it's something that a lot of people don't even think about. If it's more exclusive, those
more rare.
swag bags are going to be more exclusive
Yeah,
too.
it's gonna be more rare.
And I think that I guess is good in a sense, but bad also. But going back to the question, I think that some people are just going to chalk it up. Some people are going to try harder. It
Yeah.
all depends on how you look at it. It's your perspective on the game.
Right.
I don't think that these changes are the end of the world, right? I think that some of them aren't great. It's kind of a step backwards, but some of them are positive.
Yeah. I
Um,
mean,
so,
we've got the dubs with the L's in this for sure.
yeah.
Um, we've got like I think like the booster packs going down lower is a dub. Get people to walk away
Hmm.
with something. Top 64 gets the booster
Right.
box now. You get a half booster box at the top
Sure.
128. It's cool. It's good. It's a dub. The cash
Hmm.
staying the same is okay.
Yeah.
It would have been a dub if if
Yeah.
I mean I'm gonna refresh again. I don't think it
Yeah.
changed though, but like the cash payout, if they would have that 750
Kept the
that was the
750.
typo, it was for top 64, it'd be a huge dub.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it's still just the dash, and it's I don't know why they even added that little rung
Oof.
in there. They just
Exactly.
hyped us up for
It's
no
just twisting
reason.
the knife.
Yeah. So I mean
Uh.
that's okay. I mean the biggest L's here is just the top 125
Hmm.
cut is only it's only an L to our general player base. But that's like
Right.
the biggest L to me because our general player base is why our game is expanding right now. Like the players that
Exactly.
show up and they may not be the top players that are finishing top eight, consistently top 8ing, but they're the reason why our game is getting so much hype, why our game is getting so much attention. Like
Hmm.
it's and hindering that in any way just seems so counterproductive with how far we've been coming. Like our streams have been
Yeah.
getting so many views.
Hmm.
The players, each regional is now the biggest regional. Every
Right.
regional has been like, oh, it's been the biggest regional so far. Been the regional so far. Like
Exactly. Like
hindering that is
we've
just
got to
like
see
why?
something change. We've got to see like these venues have more space to let the players in for the registration to be a little bit easier. I mean, RK9's done a great job, and I
Yeah,
pat them on the back here because their registration process has been flawless for the past quarter of the season, for sure. And then every quarter kept progressing to be better and better, and now it's really good. I feel like I never have missed a regional invite for sure. And then they dropped the ball with NAIC. But
yeah,
it wasn't RK9, it was Pokemon.
yeah.
So
That was awful.
um, some big wins. Again, my biggest win is the spacing out of the regional events. Hopefully, it doesn't mean less regional events, but again,
Right,
your BFL is 6, so that's the feels bad part of it. You're looking at a BFL of 6 for internationals and regionals. That one's huge. But if we're just looking at the spacing out, now I have more time to prep. Now I
yeah,
have more time to practice. I
right,
know what deck I'm probably going to be playing weeks ahead of time, because I've got a whole month to prepare.
exactly.
Maybe I did bad at the last regional. I'll chalk that up as a learning experience and start grinding games. I want to grind 400 games by X regional, and I want to get a coach, and I want to sign up for that and make
Right,
sure that my coach is talking me through the lines for the format that we're going to be playing in. And now I'm prepared, and I sit down, and I'm not scared or nervous to play against my opponent if I'm striving for championships. Otherwise, I'm going and I'm having a great time.
right,
Right? I'm
right,
going to play Pokemon for 9 hours, and it's going to be fun, right? And maybe I just started playing, maybe I picked up my first deck. I just want to get some regional experience. Maybe this isn't my season. I just want to go to a drivable location, or maybe fly out with some friends and go somewhere and experience an area that I haven't been to, and I'm just playing Pokemon while I do that. What could be better, right? There's going to be those two, wavelengths of players based on this change, and that's
yeah,
what I see for the upcoming season. Maybe it makes it a little bit easier for the people that are playing for that world championships. The grinders, as they say, because you're going to have a lot of people that are just casual players at these
yeah,
regional events. You're getting butts and seats, and that's what counts, right? And that's something that I feel like, even if I'm playing for a top 128 so I can walk away with some booster pack now, still seems like a good time, right?
yeah.
And at the end of the day, I've played Pokemon for a day and I had a great time doing it.
Yep.
So,
Everybody out there, no matter your skill level, play
right,
Pokemon. Don't let this
right,
be the determining factor whether you go to regionals or not. If you have an event
exactly,
that's near you, go. Have fun.
right,
Register, go play, have fun. And if you do
yeah,
well, dude, you might just get an auto invite if you would win the whole thing. You do well,
exactly,
you can turn that into just rolling success into other events. It's really not that, the end of the world, like PJ said. Um, yes, it is a little, saddening that it's not going to be as open for people, but I am one of
right,
those people that I do think that Worlds should be an exclusive event. And this is not the way I would have wanted it to be done. Um,
right,
but they're working towards making it a more exclusive event,
right.
and it's
And
still
plus, this is only
achievable.
one season, too, right? Like,
Yeah,
this is only one season. If you're playing this season just to gain experience, maybe next season you want to achieve that goal of getting a world championship trophy, or getting into the world championships, then do that and take this season to ramp up to it. It's not the end of the world, like I was saying. It's just something else that we have to achieve. And I think that, whether it's negative or positive with this announcement of the restructure, I still think that it is a growing game. Dre, you brought up the point, and so have I here, is that every year we continue to grow, and I don't think Pokemon's done doing that. I feel like that there's still some things that we're going to see change, and maybe it's not this season, but there's power in numbers, and the more people out there playing the game is going to be a positive change, and they're going to listen to the majority of people that say, hey, I played this season, this is what I liked, this is what I didn't like. They always look for feedback, and that's something I'll say about TPCI, is that they do actually monitor the feedback for a lot of things. Maybe not Pokemon Live, but that's a different subject. But for the tournament structure, I mean, look at us. We kicked and screamed until we got better prizing, and they did that, right?
Yep.
And we wanted more events. We wanted bigger events. They did that. You know, maybe
Yeah.
the season doesn't go so well, but you have to try to understand what the problems are. And if you're not out there trying and playing and learning what's good and what's bad about the system, you won't have that feedback to give. So a lot of people that are just dropping the game because they see this change, I think that that's the wrong mindset to have, because you're still playing a game that you love. It's a low cost game. You're not going to be able to get the experience to see what parts you do and don't like. You know, we've even seen
Right.
like vendors change between events,
Yep.
right? Because some vendors are good, some vendors have some issues. We've seen tournament organizers change
Yep.
per events because that feedback has been given
Exactly.
time over time. You know, we're not going to be the only live here. I'm sure, you know, Azul's going to do their live, and Chip is going to chime in too on their podcast for Uncommon Energy. You know, we're going to see other streamers talk about this change. With Little Dark Furia probably is going to do something on Twitch later too.
Yeah, I'll be on
But you
YouTube
know,
later
yeah,
tonight on the Shuffle
Dre's
Squad
going to be
here,
over
right
there.
here on the Shuffle Squad channel. I'll be streaming here, so if you guys want to chat more, ask some questions. I'm gonna be deep diving even more into this. I mean, I feel like I've got a great analysis of this so far, but once we end this, I'm gonna probably just deep down and just read every last character on these pages and make sure I can just fully understand the structure inside and out. So make sure you guys come back, have the notifications on because I will be back tonight on this
Yeah.
channel.
Yeah, absolutely. So hopefully everybody got some information out of this video here for our live, and go back and watch. Hit the like button if you liked what we were talking about, and share it with some friends so they can learn a little bit more about the competitive Pokemon season and what that means for them. And obviously here, if you want to get any additional information about Pokemon in the competitive light, you're going to want to subscribe to the channel so you can learn all about the awesome decks that we provide here and some gameplay, as well as all of our awesome coaches that we have on the Shuffle Squad too. You're going to want to check those guys out. You can visit theshufflesquad.com and view each one of our coaches' links right on that website, along with getting some merchandise that we have featured there as well. So shout out to us for the Shuffle Squad. Shout out to you joining at home or listening to our live here. And that's pretty much all I have here, Dre. I'm going to tie it up with a bow. Anything else you
I
want to
do
say to
have
the
one
people?
little thing I want to end this with.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, I like to stir up some things. So this small number was just so out of nowhere. The top X cut that it makes me think maybe Worlds this coming Worlds, maybe it could just be a one season change. Maybe this
Mhm.
Worlds because we don't know where it's at yet. We know 2026 is in San
Right.
Fran. 2025 might be in an exclusive place.
Ooh.
It might be like
Okay.
in a very exclusive space that they can't risk over like populating it. So maybe this
Well, we
world
should
is
know in
just gonna,
August.
maybe this world is gonna be in a very cool like exclusive space, and because of that, that's why it's cut down. So
Right.
that's kind of
Everything's for a reason, right?
like mentally, it has to be for some reason. I'm giving the benefit of the doubt that the big $1 billion company like is
Mhm.
playing for a specific reason. So hey, but that's why I'm gonna leave it ambiguous there until we know for sure.
Awesome, awesome. And again, one more time, shout out to all the sponsors that make this possible, this channel, all the information that we provide to the public here. Shout out to Advanced GG, and a shout out to Kayfabe Cards over in Utah, PTCGL store, where you can get all the Pokemon TCG live codes that you need to play the game online. And then a shout out to Ultimate Guard, providing us all kinds of sleeves, deck boxes, binders, you name it, that's there. And we're going to sign off here on the Shuffle Squad. You can go back on our channel and watch some of the information that we go over. I've got Eric. from Beach Court Podcast and LDF on that video. So you're going to want to check that out too. One more time, shout out to Dre for joining me here early in the morning on the West Coast to go over these changes. And that's all from the Shuffle Squad, but we are going to catch you next time.
Peace.